Welcome to Secret Women's Business, the podcast, where we're going to talk about boobs, bras, body image, and whatever else takes our fancy.
I'm a woman of a certain age.
Dominique, I have to tell you about this customer I had in the shop the other day.
Well, please do, Pauline. Come on.
Okay, well, it was a story that really got to me because this lady comes in, she's in her 50s, a nice-looking lady, well-spoken, and there was just this air about her of she was sad.
Oh.
And she went straight to the stocking section and she was looking at stay-ups.
Okay.
And I said, what size are you looking for? What are you looking for? Is it stockings or which you have to connect to a suspender belt or stay-ups? And she sort of said, I think stay-ups will be better. And I said, what size are you? Can you just stand up so I can see what size to give you? And she says, no, I need an extra large.
Okay.
And I said, okay.
So they weren't for her.
They weren't for her.
Okay.
And she said, and I don't know why, but people tell me things. And she blurts this out. She said, it's for my husband. He's just told me he wants to wear ladies' underwear.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now we hear these stories a lot.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and for her it was a shock. She had no idea. She's in her 50s. She said she's been married to him for 30 years, like childhood sweetheart, and she had no inclination. She's not quite sure if he's straight. She's not quite sure if he's gay. He doesn't know if he's straight. He doesn't know if he's gay.
Oh.
He just wants to wear ladies' underwear. And he's asked her because he's too shy to come in.
Oh, and we don't care.
No, we don't
blokes.
care. But yes, I know, but a lot of men would care and they don't know how they'll be treated.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough because I have heard stories about men going into other lingerie shops that would not serve them because it was for them.
Oh, I had one who was chased out with a broom.
What?
Yeah, I know. And look, as my grandmother, who was a very conservative lady, but she used to say there is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah, that's right.
So if it's legal and you're not hurting anyone, go for your life. But in this case, he was hurting someone because she didn't know. She had no inkling. He didn't know what it meant for him.
Right. How confusing.
Yeah.
For both of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, I picked out a pair that I knew to be comfortable because they were comfortable on me. So I knew, I didn't think he'd be ready for suspender belt and stockings.
They're a lot of work.
They're a lot of work. No,
yeah. Exactly.
And she said, I'm just so lost. It's not the man I married.
Oh, dear.
I know. And I haven't seen her since, and I do hope they work through it because these things don't have to be the end of a marriage. They don't have to change things unless you can't work through it.
No, well, there's a guy that comes in, an older guy. I think he's in his 50s or 60s, and he buys silk nightgowns, and his wife knows about it but doesn't want to see it. But that's their agreement. Yeah. So he wears them under things and I don't know, we didn't get into great detail. I like asking questions.
Yeah.
Because I'm sticky beak, basically. But that's their deal. And he's straight. He just loves the sexy lingerie. So,
even in my book, there's a whole chapter there about this couple who met and he likes them to wear matching underwear. And she's right into it. And there's no judgment. It's just
absolutely. But
it's what you can live with. I mean, I know if Pete said to me, that little black lacy bra, you got one in my size, and I'm not sure how I react.
Yeah, I feel for this lady. I really feel for this lady, especially if it totally came out of the blue.
Out of the blue.
Yeah, that must be terrible.
Out of the blue. And she was thinking of how to support her husband, who she still loves. But how does she support herself and can she live with it?
Yeah, because, you never know where it's going to end up. That's the thing, do you?
No, and you hear these stories quite often of women who, in their 50s, and all of a sudden their husband comes out and says, look, I've been hiding it for so long, but I'm actually gay and I want to leave you so I can explore that side of me. And I've always known, but, now the kids are grown up.
Social convention.
Yeah. Now the kids are grown up and they've left home and these women are lost.
Yeah,
and it's difficult in your 50s because, or 60s, because, for what women of our age, what we expected was you get married and you stay married for the rest of your life.
That's right.
And there are reasons to break up a marriage, of course.
But this kind of issue
comes as a shock.
Is completely unexpected. I mean, if a man has an affair with a woman, that's sort of socially, we're aware of that sort of thing. But for a man to come home and tell you that he might be gay or he wants to cross-dress or whatever, that's a whole different level, I think.
Yeah.
And the pain would be just devastating.
Yeah. And I think, of course this happens through every generation. You can get married in your 20s and it can happen to you in your 30s and 40s. Just when you're at this age, when we do kind of come from a conservative era, and everything's out in the open and most people are not judgmental, but you kind of don't think it's going to happen to you after all these years of marriage.
Who expects their 60-year-old husband to suddenly say, I need a pair of knickers and a bra?
Yeah.
So, I understand.
Yeah, or...
The pain must be dreadful.
Oh, excuse me, that was just a little cough. Oh, here's another one. Okay, so anyway, I think the other side of it is the ones who come home and actually find the husbands dressed up.
Oh, I've never encountered that. Anyone telling me that story.
Or their knickers are missing and then they didn't know why. And they found them at the back of his drawer.
That's actually funny.
Yeah, I know. Oh, have you seen my little red knickers? No, sorry, I don't know anything about red knickers. And then you find them at the back of his store.
Things kept in secret are never good.
No. Look, I mean, it can happen with women as well, where they decide that they're gay.
Well, yes, I have a girl I went to school with. She left her husband for a woman and they're now married and she's got, I think her kids are in their late teens, early 20s. Yeah, so it happens. Yeah,
of course it does. But I think, I don't know what's easier. I don't
think any of it's easy.
No.
I think that's the point. I think it's just devastating.
Yeah. And there are, of course, marriages that are very happy with this because they're, sometimes women say that's fabulous. You want to stay in the house and shall we keep the marriage going? I like you. I'm quite happy to do without sex.
So I have to tell you a funny story. It's not to do with the shop, but I met this. Was having some paintings framed in Queensland, and he was clearly gay, very flamboyant and all of that sort of thing. He was absolutely delightful. Anyway, he finally told me his story. He was living with a bloke and they'd been partnered for about 10 years or something, and he was well into his 60s, and his ex-wife was now with a woman. So they'd both gone
that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got to say, confusing for the children, depending on their age, but I don't think it'd be easy at any age.
Yeah, look, one of them's a fetish and the other one isn't. So the fetish to wear clothes, female clothes, doesn't make you gay.
No, we've got
lots of male customers.
Lots of male customers that buy stuff for themselves just for the fun.
And they like the feel of it on their bodies, whatever it is, the fabrics.
Which begs the question, why don't they make men's underwear in silk?
Oh, well, they do, but it's not the same. It's
not available either.
Yeah. But it's a fetish thing. They want the girly stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't make them gay at all. It just is what it is.
There's a lovely young tradie that comes in and he buys himself. Actually, funnily enough, at first he told me he was buying for his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And we got chatting and then he finally said, actually, I'll tell you, it's really for me.
Whatever gets you through the night, I don't judge. That's what makes you happy. Well, I'm saying what this conversation is more about is this poor woman who in her 50s and all of a sudden had to deal with this and the shock it would have been for her.
I got to say, she's pretty brave to actually come into the shop to buy something for him. She's trying to navigate the waters
That's right.
in a really intelligent, emotionally intelligent way.
But she wasn't happy.
It's really admirable. No, I would think she'd be heartbroken.
Yeah.
I think that makes her quite heroic, actually.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
That sort of courage is amazing.
Completely heroic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just, look, I don't know. The world's an interesting place.
And I think that's really what we're probably talking about here is acceptance.
Yes.
And accepting changes in your life and
Yes, exactly.
and navigating it.
Yeah, and of course these things are sometimes harder because you've been married for so much longer, and your expectations haven't gone through the change that you were, it's not what you wanted.
Well, in your 50s or your 60s and you've been married for 30-odd years, you're imagining the next thing is retirement and more holidays and going on cruises and grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly.
And being more involved in the kids' and grandchildren's lives and all of that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden it must feel like the rug's been pulled out from under.
Absolutely.
It would have to feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine, to be perfectly honest.
Because there's some things you can compete with and some things you can't.
Well, that's the thing. You can compete with another woman.
Yeah.
You know, you can do things. So
Yes.
what can we do to help these people, though? That's kind of my question.
Well, non-judgmental listening.
I think the answer is just to accept people the way they are.
The answer
love them
is,
where they're at.
the answer is love.
It always is.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and have a fantastic day or night.
Really and truly.